Once you've learned about all of the changes coming to Cadence and how they affect your project, it's time to start making changes to your own Cadence code. And this is what we call the modify phase in this developer journey. So step one of working with your Cadence 1.0 project is to make sure that you have the latest version of the Cadence 1.0 Flow CLI installed. This is a preview release of the Flow CLI, which has all of the features related to the Crescendo upgrade. And this includes Crescendo-ready versions of the Flow emulator, Cadence language server, and all of the other tools that were previously packaged in the Flow CLI. It also contains some extra features related to staging contracts, emulating the Crescendo upgrade locally, and these we'll use later in this video. We'll use this CLI throughout the upgrade process. So to install this CLI, we hop over here to this Cadence 1.0 migration guide again on the Cadence Lang site, and we'll scroll down here to the Flow CLI install instructions. We can see here that there's a command for Linux and Mac OS. I'm on Mac OS, so this is the command for me, and a command for Windows. On Windows, you would use PowerShell. On Linux and Mac OS, you can just use your terminal. So I'll go over here into my VSCode window, which has a terminal in it. I'll paste this in, and then I'll run it. And it'll ask for my password. Nope, no password needed. And so it installs the latest version of the Cadence 1.0 preview Flow CLI to the flow-c1 command. So usually the Flow CLI is installed at the flow command, right? If we type in with flow, we see my old CLI. However, this Crescendo preview CLI will be at flow c1, and I can type in flow c1, and you can see I have this preview CLI here as well. And this is what we'll be using when we're working with our Cadence 1.0 code, Cadence 1.0 emulator, etc. Now that we've got the Cadence 1.0 version of the Flow CLI installed, we need to start thinking about how we're actually going to be modifying our code. To do this, we recommend using the Cadence VSCode extension with the Visual Studio Code editor. So in order to install the extension, you can hop over here in VS Code to the extension sidebar, type in Cadence, you find it, and click install. If you've already got it installed, make sure you update to the latest version, just in case. Only the latest versions will be compatible with Cadence 1.0. Once you've done this, you can hop over here to this little button that says Flow CLI and the version, click on it, and click on the Cadence 1.0 preview release in order to switch to Cadence 1.0 mode in VS Code. And what this is going to do is it's now going to be using the Cadence 1.0 language server in order to perform static analysis on your programs. And as you can see now, we have a bunch of errors as our contract is obviously not compatible with Cadence 1.0 yet. So now we need to start performing our contract updates. And to do this, I'll want to swap onto a different branch. So I'll check out a Cadence 1.0 branch. And now that we're in this, we can start updating our scripts, transactions, and contracts accordingly. Ultimately, the most reliable path for changing your code will be to review existing code and work through these errors that appear in VS Code on a case-by-case basis, using the assistance of all of the reference materials that we shared previously in the Learn section. The Cadence VS Code extension provides some diagnostic messages, such as this one, as well as quick fixes, such as this one, in order to solve some of these more common changes to your code. However, some alternative tools exist in order to attempt to automate some of this process instead. There's a Cadence GPT extension, as well as a couple of other automated contract updater tools that were submitted by the community. These may help automate some of the changes. One thing to consider is that in order for the VS Code extension and other tools to function correctly, you will have to update your local copies of dependency contracts with updated versions. So in my case here, you can see non-fungible token, metadata views, and view resolver, for instance. These are all core contracts, and these will be automatically updated with the Crescendo upgrade. However, you may have third-party dependencies, and you will have to retrieve any staged third-party dependencies from the network when available in order to have access to any sort of analysis or to test your contract upgrades on a local emulator. For these core contracts that I have here, updated copies exist within the respective repositories on GitHub within feature branches, and I'll just pull up the Flow NFT right now. So we can say here Flow NFT, and if I hop over to the standard V2, this has all of the updated contracts. So I can just copy these from here. Once I've added these new core contracts, you can see that all of these errors have gone away. And now I can continue and I can finish updating my code.